10. Work and just measures. Just weights and balances are commanded by God's law and referred to repeatedly. Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment, in meat yard, in weight or in measure. Just balances, just weights, a just ephah, and a just hin shall ye have. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. Leviticus chapter 19, verses 35 and 36. Thou shalt not have in thy bag divers weights, a great and a small. Thou shalt not have in thine house divers measures, a great and a small. But thou shalt have a perfect and just weight, a perfect and a just measure shalt thou have, that thy days may be lengthened in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. For all that do such things, and all that do unrighteously, are an abomination unto the Lord thy God. Deuteronomy chapter 25, verses 13 to 16. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1. A just weight and balance are the Lord's. All the weights of the bag are his work. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 11. Divers weights and divers measures, both of them are alike abomination to the Lord. Divers weights are an abomination unto the Lord, and a false balance is not good. Proverbs chapter 20, verses 10 and 23. Ye shall have just balances, and a just ephah, and a just bath. Ezekiel chapter 45, verse 10. Are there yet the treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked, and a scant measure that is abominable? Micah chapter 6, verse 10. These are major references to the subject. False weights, monetary and commercial, are, first, called injustice, and an abomination in the sight of God, and hateful to him. Second, a nation with just measures has the promise of a long life, whereas the implication is that God's judgment is on those who falsify weights and measures in any and every area. Third, God calls a just weight his delight. It is an indication of justice in a society, just as a false monetary measure, such as fiat money, is an indication of planned injustice. Fourth, false measures are called the treasures of wickedness. The essential means of falsifying the life of a society. It is important to note that the rabbinic commentaries held that Ezekiel chapter 45, verse 10, is a part of a messianic passage. The teaching of the sages in Torah's Kohanim to Leviticus chapter 19, verse 35, held, For he who measures for the purpose of a seal is like a judge, and if he is deceitful, he causes 5 things. He defiles the land, desecrates God's name, causes the Shekinah to depart, causes Israel to fall by the sword, and causes them to be exiled from their land. Foremost in Yechezkel's mind is the need to safeguard the community from such abuses which bring these 5 results in their wake. Note this important fact. Every man, as he deals with measures, is compared to a judge, meting out either justice or injustice. Injustice in this matter has as its consequence abandonment by God of the unjust people to judgment. Thus, the requirement of just weights and just measures is the requirement of justice. It requires work as the basic source of wealth. Falsity in weights and measures makes injustice and theft basic to a society and is productive of the parasitic economy, and finally death. Work must be behind economic activity in order to have true productivity. and work must be behind money in order to have a just economic and social order. Let us look again at the biblical statements. Proverbs chapter 16 verse 11 says, "A just weight and balance are the Lord's, all the weights of the bag are His work." We are told that there is a fundamental God-given order in creation. Material things are measurable because they have an essential character by virtue of their creation. It is the order basic to creation which makes science possible. The constancy of things is His handiwork. Thus, whether we use the biblical weights and measures or the Anglo-Saxon, we are measuring with an assurance of a stable and constant realm. Hence, in the realm of money, gold and silver were once used in terms of weights. The shekel of Scripture is a weight of gold and silver. The US coinage of gold was also once in terms of weight and a stable, established measurement. This dependency on the objective weight of things is what Proverbs chapter 16 verse 11 means in declaring that all the weights are His, God's, work. Fiat money, on the other hand, means a constantly changing standard of measurement. The whole economy is thereby falsified and rendered unjust. The same is true of fiat laws, whether in church, state, or any other realm. Fiat, or man-made laws, simply enact injustice and codify it into the life of a society. Man-made laws are false measures. Fiat money and laws make all of a society's operations move steadily from justice to injustice. All laws legalizing abortion and homosexuality thus represent false measures and injustice. Every attempt to create an economy and a monetary system on man's fiats is thus an attempt by man to play God and to bypass work as a means of productivity. The result is eventually disaster. One consequence of such politico-economic policies is a return to slavery. The more socialist a country, that is, the more rigorously it is dedicated to fiat laws and money, the more marked the return to slavery. Slavery violates the fundamental premise of dominion work, responsibility. In slavery, an elite group orders work done. Personal motivation and purpose is replaced by social plans and goals. The elite assume more and more responsibility and freedom from control while placing all others under the slavery of a radically regulated and controlled society. Work and the tithe are the marks of responsible men in societies, whereas the income tax is a product of, and a stimulus to, irresponsibility. Let us remember the ancient rabbinic comment that the law of just weights and just measures makes every man a judge. Preceding the rise of the income tax, there was a marked decline in the integrity and responsibility of individual men. Having abdicated as honest judges, they were creating a society of fiat laws, weights, and measures, which reflected their own disposition. Before the Federal Reserve System was created, a growing number of Americans saw a just monetary weight as a cross of gold. Ecclesiastical antinomianism supplanted God's established and eternal law, God's justice or righteousness, with pietistic emotions, good feelings, and inspirational yearnings. In the politico-economic sphere, subjective intentions and goodwill replaced classical economics and biblical law. The humanistic will to do good became the new Messiah, which came to focus clearly in Woodrow Wilson's, quote, order, end quote. What this means was that society was now man-centered and governed by man's fiat will. Wilson succeeded in one respect. He made the world safe for democracy, but not for man. People's regimes have proliferated since then as fascist, Marxist, socialist, democratic and dictator-run states, all claiming to fulfill the will of, quote, the people, end quote. In the process, the individual man has suffered greatly. Work has been replaced by the politics of the people. Productivity has suffered accordingly. Basic to any unjust society is a humanistic measure for morality, money, and all things else. These constitute, in Micah's words, the treasures of wickedness. Every capital in our world today prizes these false measures, which, according to Scripture, can only shorten the lives of nations and bring judgment. There must be a restoration of the just weight and measure which is God's delight. The starting point is dominion work, tithing, and giving to the needy. The work of Christian reconstruction begins here. This is alone essentially constructive, and every other starting point is fallacious. A final note. The word abomination is regularly applied to false measures. It is a translation of a Hebrew word meaning loathsome or disgusting, something repulsive and offensive. Any social order which embraces fiat measures in law, money, morality, or any other sphere has embraced something of radical repulsiveness to God. The failure of men to see how repulsive their false measures are is due to the fact that they themselves have become loathsome in God's sight. The consequence is judgment.